Today on Reasonable Assessment, we're talking about a stupid live-action CGI hybrid movie with blue things in it. I wish I were talking about the Smurfs. I really do. So recently we just got some more info about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that's supposed to come out. It was originally announced, in case you hadn't heard, with Sony Pictures a couple years ago, and I'm utterly terrified. I should be very excited about this movie. I'm a huge fan, but I have zero faith in this film. Judging off what they've said, I have zero faith. Just in case that's not clear, here's a graph representing how much faith I have in this film. Now slow down there before you try to kill me and say I'm a hater and everything. We need to make something clear. We need to talk about the difference between faith and desire. On one hand, we have faith. On the other hand, we have desire. Do I desire this movie to be good? Absolutely. Do I have faith that it actually will? Nope. Which brings us to today's segment, 4 reasons why I'm terrified. Let's get started. Number 1, live action hybrid. Let's get something straight. This is a hedgehog. This is a Sonic. That kind of stylized design belongs in animation. In fact, most of the Sonic cast belongs in animation. There is a total of 1 human character in the majority of Sonic games, Dr. Eggman, and even he is still cartoony. Look at him. He looks like an egg. And they tried to make him look realistic once, and look how that turned out. Oh my gosh, what is that? And hey, the Sonic games that did have humans still portrayed them in very stylized, unrealistic ways. Even the super self-serious Shadow the Hedgehog had goofy-looking humans in it. The only game that really tried to do the photorealistic thing was the aforementioned Sonic Dead Horse for the Xbox 360.
Hey.
So what's the point? What's the point of making a movie set in a world about colorful little animals, semi-live action? Unfortunately, that brings us to number 2, literal video game character. Imagine if Marvel movies weren't about Captain America and Iron Man trying to stop Thanos or whatever, but rather it was about the Avengers coming out of a literal comic book page into the real world, making weird and dumb meta jokes like, hey, how come there's not a word balloon above your head when you talk? I don't know why Iron Man talks like that, but oh well. Here's an official press blurb that was released along Sonic the Hedgehog movie news. Sonic the Hedgehog centers around Sonic and his friends, Tails and Knuckles, who run around collecting items and points as they attempt to foil the global domination plans of Dr. Eggman Robotnik. Items and points. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. They're doing that stupid thing where Sonic's a literal video game character. He's not in his own world with his own problems that are unique to that universe. No, he's going to be literal bits of code inside literal computer hardware. He's going to get sucked out of a Genesis. He and Eggman are going to get sucked out of the Genesis, and Sonic's going to run into this little boy, and he's going to help this stupid little boy with his problems, like getting enough courage to ask a girl out. And then he and the boy together are going to defeat Eggman using video game stuff like ring boxes and items and other things like that. Yeah, video game logic. We've seen this thing way too many times. And frankly, it's an insult to the character. I mean, comics and cartoons have shown us for years that Sonic's world is capable of having its own stories in its own merit and doesn't need to justify it with some external thing like video game tropes. Which brings us to number 3. Sega doesn't understand their characters. The people that hold the Sonic IP and its characters don't value their characters, and they continually change the things that people liked about them in the first place. I think a lot of people have even just stopped caring, stopped liking them, because why would they? They've been given no reason to. To bring up Marvel again, if you look at the MCU, I think it's been successful because somebody up there knows why people like Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America, or whoever. They look at, here's the thing that have kept comic book readers engaged for 50 years. Let's just put it in front of a bigger audience. And it works. Sega, on the other hand, breaks their characters and undoes the things that were cool about them. There was a time, you may not remember this, but there was a time in the late 90s, early 2000s, where these characters were coming into their own and showing us that they could be compelling. Take Knuckles for an example. When I was introduced to Knuckles, he was shown to me As the last of his kind, this anti-hero rival to Sonic, living isolated on this island by himself, guarding this stone of ancient mystical power. And he was highly skilled in combat. He could take out anyone who tried to take it from him. And there's this whole other side to him where he was this expert treasure hunter, and he could even read ancient Babylonian languages like he's freaking Indiana Jones. Meanwhile at Sega, here's Meathead Knuckles. He's big, buff, and a blasted idiot that can't tell left from right. And you know what's crazy? I didn't exaggerate any of that for comedic effect. It's literally that big a difference. You tell me which Knuckles would make a better story. Number 4, video game movies in general. Name me some excellent Hollywood video game movies. I'll wait. Yeah. Hollywood has more bad video game adaptations than they do sexual assault allegations. Now, I know some of you may be thinking like, well, hey, that's not the Sonic movie's fault. Just because other people did a bad job doesn't mean this is guaranteed to suck. And that's right, that's totally right. But what it does mean is that making a video game movie is hard, and we still haven't figured it out yet. And the closest thing we got is that Castlevania Netflix series, but that's not even a Hollywood movie, and it still was pretty good despite some of its problems. So why should I believe that this Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which was originally announced under Sony Pictures with writers Van Robichaux and Evan Susser, only to disappear then reappear with a new set of writers, Patrick Casey and Josh Miller, now under Paramount instead of Sony, which is based off a video game series, which has had inconsistent characters, writing, and story, with character arcs being ignored or outright reversed, with conflicting backstories going all the way back to the 90s, is going to be the first one to change it. We don't know that much about this movie, but what little we do know are all signs that are pointing in the suck direction. And that's not good. And if I'm being honest, very painfully honest, I just hope it doesn't get made. I mean, I know that sounds like a mean thing to say, but actually I think it'd be better if we just didn't waste anyone's time. I don't think it's gonna turn out good. I don't think Sonic's in the right place to do this, and I don't think now is the right time. I don't think these people at this high Hollywood level know how to make a 90-minute story about this character that is actually good. I think the execs at Paramount are looking at this and they see a very profitable, very marketable character that they vaguely remember from the 90s. And because of that, this movie will just damage the character in the long term. But because of the brand recognition of Sonic, it's going to be a box office hit, which will make it a success in the short term, which will just further the marketplace disconnect between what the people want and what the people are getting. Because if comic book movies have taught us anything, it's that what gets established in the movie is what becomes established across the board. If Knuckles is illiterate in this movie, look forward to illiterate Knuckles in every medium for the next 20 years. Yeah, Knuckles. He's the one that can't read, right? That's what happened in the movies. So please, Paramount, prove me wrong. Like, I would love to be wrong. Like, it could still happen. This movie could come out and it could be excellent. And I could eat my words. And I hope I do. 2019, I hope these words taste bitter. Who am I kidding? Paramount ain't watching this. And even if they were, I'm just a dumb kid with a dumb internet show. This movie's gonna suck. It's gonna be bad. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, that's my assessment. Hope it's a bitter one. You know what? No, we're not ending this here. You know what we need before some giant Sonic movie that crashes and burns and damages the whole series? We need a smaller movie made by people that have a proven history with the character. Start small. Make a 60-minute animated film with art direction by Tyson Pease and a script by Ian Flynn from the comics, like a modern-day OVA or something. Ian Flynn has consistently shown that he knows how to make compelling stories with these characters, and he's been doing it for 10 years. And he does it better than the people Sega hires. That's where we need to start. We need to start there and build on that foundation. I keep coming back to comic book movies because I really think that's the best analogy. Comic book movies, it may be hard to remember this, but there was a time where comic book movies just sucked. They just were bad. It's because the people that were making them, they didn't read comics. They weren't fans. They were talented movie people, but they didn't know the source material. And when that changed, magically things got good. Well, imagine that. That's what happens. That's what we need to be doing. It started at the low level with like Batman the Animated Series, and the small movies and TVs. The first good video game adaptation was the aforementioned Castlevania Netflix series, because it wasn't made as a cash grab. I mean, heck, there hasn't even been a Castlevania game in years. It was just made by people that really liked the series, that were legitimate fans of it, knew what was appealing about it, and they just made it off that. That's where Sonic needs to be. And to continue with the theme, let's take a quote from one of my favorite comic book movies and flip it on its head. A giant blockbuster Sonic the Hedgehog movie is something we deserve, but it is not what we need. Not right now, and probably not for a while. That's my assessment. Hope it's a reasonable one.